These characters are students at a prestigious medical school, and yet they're surprised when they find out that depriving your brain from oxygen for minutes on end has adverse side effects. I guess through the eyes of a money junkie Hollywood producer, I would understand the reasoning behind remaking a popular film. But in this film's case, I was perplexed as to why the 1990 original Flatliners starring Julia Roberts was even resuscitated, as it was a really forgettable piece of work. Flatliners 2017 is indeed a remake that nobody asked for, but it's not the only reason as to why I'm pissed after watching it. The real gloom stems from this film's refusal to take the original's barely explored premise in a new direction. Not only does the remake waste the talents of its cast and do absolutely nothing with its premise, it spirals into an achingly generic horror film meant for the toilet bowl. So our main character Courtney, played by Ellen Page, develops an obsession for the afterlife following a car accident that kills her younger sister. Years later, as a medical student, Courtney and 4 other colleagues undertake a very risky experiment to gain knowledge of what lies on the other side. And this insane study would involve temporarily stopping their heartbeats for minutes on end. As the students continue to put themselves in peril, they eventually find themselves being haunted by apparitions related to their sins and past misgivings. This movie is a steaming hot mess. It hasn't a clue as to what kind of film it wants to be. Flatliners fails miserably as a film about the notions of life and death. It is vigorously disastrous as a horror flick, and on top of all that is a clumsily delivered message about seeking forgiveness. As much as the flatlining experiments generated tension, they never really gave any actual insight into the brain's post-mortem activities. Moreover, a film with such a complex premise is begging for some philosophical discussion on a theoretical and religious level following near-death experiences, no? Instead, Flatliners opts to dilly-dally and waste screen time with sequences of euphoria and debauchery, as apparently every jaunt into the afterlife comes with a hot injection of adrenaline, libido, and a hint of NZT, the fictional brain-enhancing drug from Limitless. Following this film's ferocious skimping on anything of worth with regards to its premise over an hour into its runtime, it subsequently devolves into one of the most brazenly bland and achingly boring excuses for a horror movie I have seen in a long time. Utterly devoid of even a tinge of tension, the carelessly staged jump scares are half-assed and can be seen coming from a mile away. Lacking any subtlety or intrigue, the ghostly symbols of these characters' guilt and misgivings are about as obvious as a drunken nudist streaking through a crowd of religious conservatives. Given that the characters don't even begin to address the conflict until about 2/3 into this film, the unfortunate moviegoers are subjected to an act of dull, boring, and unimaginative horror that can't be rectified by a stoner party thrown by Bob Marley himself. When that's over with, the third and final act ever so nonchalantly rushes itself as it clumsily delivers a perfunctory message about attaining forgiveness before your sins destroy you. A message that is lost in translation as the film overlooked whatever questions it may have raised. There was one surprisingly redeeming factor. The performances were actually pretty serviceable, as the cast did everything they can with the lame-o material they were given. As much as the characters were unfathomably dumb and full of irrationalities and contradictions, they were far more likable than they had any right to be. All the more reason to be frustrated with the placement of fine actors in subpar films that are far beneath their caliber. In the end, I believe Flatliners is a pathetic and, quite frankly, embarrassing attempt at a cash grab. It's a stunningly poor remake of a mediocre film that didn't ask to be revived from the dead. Like a petulant child, this film stubbornly refuses to seize the golden opportunity to go the distance with its premise. Instead, it tries to gratify the masses with superficial humor and scares that even a 3-year-old would probably scoff at. If I were you, I wouldn't waste my time with this film. It's not even worth a watch on Netflix. So I'm gonna give Flatliners a 3. So these are my thoughts on Flatliners. What did you think of the film? Let me know in the comment section below. And if you like what I do, give me a like, hit that big subscribe button, stay tuned, and I will see you on the next one.